Hello everyone, this is SP Simpsons and Bacon with P, and earlier today, or in fact yesterday actually, I posted a tweet about thumbnails, and I thought because I'm doing thumbnails, I might as well go through the process on how I'm going to be making them, and some tips that I've learned from other people, and just general use of Photoshop. As I said, Photoshop, just now, I am going to be using Photoshop, so oops, if I can spell it right. Photoshop. There we go. I've actually hidden the dock for this video just so I can use Photoshop in full screen. So I'm going to be using the Photoshop CC 2014 release. However, any version of Photoshop will work just fine. And here's Photoshop. So you want to go to File, New. You want to name it whatever you want. Instead of default Photoshop size, you want to change this. I recommend pixels because I find pixels easier to work with. You need to type in 1280 by 720. And this is 720p HD. Resolution, pixels per inch. Set that. 72 should be fine if you want to. You can change that. Background contents, make that transparent and then click OK. So what it should do, it should generate a checkerboard background, which is normal. Now, you need to get an image of sorts. And you just want to search for a background for your video. So if it's a gaming video, you want to do like a background from the game. So for example, if you're playing Fable 2, for example. Fable 2 background. And as you can see, you'd get a gaming background. Now, when you're searching, I recommend clicking Search Tools, Size, and Large. This will give you an image which is quite large. If you don't check it to large, that are like really small, for example, like 580 by 300. If you put that in Photoshop, scale it up to 1280 by 720, sorry. That's just going to look really pixely and terrible. I'm just going to get a generic background, so I'm just going to type in background. And I'm going to search tools, large, and I kind of like this little green wave. So we click view image, and then it should take us to the actual, yeah, there we go. So we right click, and then save image as, and then save it in the downloads, and then pop it in Photoshop. So as you can see, we have our little background image. We can stretch it out, although it's just going to look really weird. So I recommend holding shift and dragging one of the corners, and this will lock the aspect ratio so it doesn't get skewed or distorted. When you're moving it around, you can use shift and it will snap to any of 8 directions. So we have up, so it'll only move in the upwards direction, diagonals and stuff like that. So I'm going to put mine here. I'm going to hold shift to keep the aspect ratio proportions correct. And just fill the image like that. You want to keep the X and the center point right in the middle as close as possible. When you click the tick, the image quality will improve, so don't worry if it looks terrible. I'm just going to place it there. And get rid of the transform controls. So now what you want to do is you want to add some text. You click the text tool and you just click anywhere and you just begin typing. So, hello, test, thumbnail. Obviously this text is really hard to read. You can select the text and change the color over here. So I'm just going to change it to blue. This symbol means that it's not a web color, and clicking it will revert it to the nearest web color. I recommend using web colors just because they're much easier to work with and you don't get any issues as well. I didn't actually change the color, do I? So let's do that now. There we go. So I'm just going to change it to a deep red instead. And click this button just to change it to a web color. So again, select the text, change to web color. And there we go. We can also make it bigger or smaller just by using this drop down here. Obviously, make sure you select the text first, because I was just failing back there. And there we go. Hello, test thumbnail. Place that anywhere you want on the page. The only place I recommend not placing it is right in the middle, because a massive play button will be there. If you're blocking Flash, for example, and you just want to click to play, or in the corner, because that is where the time will be, which shows you how long the video is. So I recommend putting it in this corner, or this corner, or just to the side here, but not directly in the middle, or not in the bottom right corner. And that's pretty much it. You can also overlay some stuff onto it, like other images and other text. Just make sure that they're not copyrighted and they're Creative Commons, which means that you can use it. Once you're done, right click and convert to Smart Object. This will just gather all the layers and put them in a Smart Object, which you can just move around freely. It's just much more easier to work with. And then once you've done, you go to File, Save As, and you want to save it as thumbnail. And then you want to drop down this format, which is Photoshop, and you want to click PNG, and then click Save. And the final step, you want to leave all these settings as they are. Compression, smallest/slow. If you have a lot of content and you've converted them to smart layers, it might be over the limit. In that case, click none and fast. Otherwise, with all other cases, I'll just recommend clicking smallest and slow. And you don't want to interlace it because it just looks weird. You click OK, and then it says saving at the top, so saving 10%. And there we go, it's saved. Okay, so what I've quickly done here is I've just created a little video in the YouTube video editor. Once you have your video, you want to go to any video and then click in the little edit button here, which I'm going to do now. Just going to close that tab. As you can see, we have 3 thumbnails automatically generated by YouTube, and we also have this customize thumbnail button. If you want to look at all the requirements, then you can just hover over this thing here. Max size 2 megabytes, 1280 by 720, which we've done in Photoshop, and supported formats, we have one of them, which is the PNG file. I always recommend using a PNG file because it has the transparency layer, but if you want, you can use any of the other formats. So you click on the customize thumbnail button. This will all be blurred out, but you can navigate to your thumbnail where you saved it. Click open, and then it will say uploading. If you're on Google Chrome, this little bar down here, if I move my mouse, it just jumps to the other side, but normally it might show how much percent the upload is. It didn't for me, but sometimes it might for you. And as you can see down the bottom, there is now a 4th image, which is your image, and then you just click Save Changes, and then all changes have been saved. You can click this button to go back to the video manager, or if you want to swap the thumbnail out for a new one, you can click Change Image and choose another file. And that is the basics of how to create a YouTube thumbnail really, really easily. Again, you don't have to use Photoshop CC. There are other versions of Photoshop like CS6, for example. Or you can use free imaging software like GIMP or Pixlr, which is an online thing. Or Paint.net, which is probably the most simplest. I wouldn't recommend using Paint or anything like that, just because the image quality in Paint is not that great, and it saves in a bitmap file, which is generally low quality, and Paint doesn't like really high quality images, like 920, no, what was it, 1280 by 720, that's it. I keep forgetting the dimensions, even though like I'm really used to them. But anyway, that is how to easily create a thumbnail in Photoshop. As I said, there are alternatives, but you're going to have to find them yourself. I recommend using Pixlr, which is an online tool, or GIMP, which can be freely downloaded. And that's just about it. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you learned something today, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.